This is where the story of the hogboon begins. She didn't believe in trowy fairy stories.
Some of them have never been investigated.
I mean, on one of the maps it's recorded as the Holy Mound.
Everybody has a different idea of what a hogboon is. So today, we've got something a bit different. I'm going to tell you a story. It's the story of a hogboon. The hogboon is a mythical creature, and Sanday in particular has had quite a few hogboons along its way. So this is the story of the hogboon of Helihow. I'll tell you a story from a long time ago. In the far lands of Burness, on the island of Sanday, lies a farm named Helihow.
It's usually about February time. There's no sand left on the beach at all. It's all just back to bare rock and pebble. And then it's almost like something quite magical, because suddenly the tide levels change and everything, and you can leave one day and there's nothing, and the next day you come back and the beach has re-arrived. And incredible though, I mean, look at that feat of engineering, hanging on for grim death, that chimney. The stonework though, incredible on the chimneys. So this is Helihow. This is where the story of the hogboon begins, in its wonderful ruinous state that we find it in today. I love this place. I think it's an incredible surrounded place. Nobody's 100% certain how old the story of the hogboon of Helihow is. We know that Sir Walter Traill Denison recorded a lot of these oral folk fairy trowy stories over a period of maybe 20-30 years back in the late part of the 1890s. But oral tradition was something that had been going on for thousands of years. You know, people have always been telling stories. Davo's parents were the last people to live at Helihow. They sort of vacated here just around the end of the Second World War. But chatting to Davo, he was saying that in particular here, when you compare it to somewhere like Bollocoy, in the spring clean, the idea would be that they would sweep out the sand off the floor and bring fresh sand from the beach in, and that was part of the spring clean. So when you consider things like Bollocoy has got rugs and it's got linoleums, you know, this was a very different way of living here. And this is largely how most people that were crofters on Sanday at that time would have lived. It would have been very much hand to mouth. So the story goes that there was a farmer and his wife who lived at Helihow. The farmer and his wife knew of the hogboon that was over at the mound and were kind to him, and the wife would leave little treats and a saucer of milk outside and little bits of food for the hogboon, and in return the hogboon looked after the farmer and his wife and was very kindly. He helped with the collecting of the harvest, he looked after the animals. As time progressed, the farmer became too old to manage the land anymore, and it was passed to his son. His son soon took residence at Helihow, and he and his new wife, who wasn't from Sanday, and she didn't believe in staffed, trowy fairy stories, she arrived with him to take over the running. And so, as the farmer suggested they left some food out to the hogboon, she said to him, "We'll not be leaving food out for a silly fairy story. I don't believe in that. There's no point in wasting good food." So they started their farming existence here. But the hogboon on the mound crept down, as he often did at night, to collect his food from the front of the house, to discover there was nothing there. Because he could smell the food that the farmer and his wife had cooked for tea still simmering in the pot on the fire, he tried the latch, and as is Sandy's way, no doors are ever locked, in he crept to the fireplace. Let's go. It's just beautiful. This one would have been such a low house because I imagine at a later date they would have probably, because you can see the nails, they'd have actually put a clapperboard sort of wood sitting over it. Mine have still got the bars sort of set into there where they used to hang the crook tree to hang the pots on the fire. Don't you think this was to do all your cooking just on this? It's not a particularly big fire, is it, when you can compare it like with the range at Folklore and everything. It's a very different existence in this house. So creeping into the butt end of the house, there on the fire was the leftovers of the evening meal, still simmering in the pot. The smell was so irresistible to the hogboon that he just had to take a taste, and it was good. It was very good. Well, if they won't feed the hogboon, then the hogboon will feed itself. I'll not leave good food like this lying about. So he got the pot and he carried it quietly out of the house. So the hogboon, after getting his food from Helihow, carried this heavy cast iron pot all the way back up to his mound so that he could sit and eat his stolen goods. But the next day, he thought, I have a pot now for my food. I need a stool to sit on so I can sit in comfort and eat. And he remembered seeing a little stool, and he decided that he'd go back, and he crept back down from the mound under cover of darkness the following night and into the house, and there, just by the spinning wheel, was a small hasso, which is a small kind of Orcadian round stool, and he took it and he ran all the way back to the mound, where he continued to eat from the pot, now sitting on a wonderful, comfortable little stool. And so every night he kept creeping down from his mound and taking the chairs, the table, the crockery, because you're going to need some crockery to eat from your pot. Sanday has so many mounds, all dotted around. Some have been investigated. We know some of them are pre-Neolithic. We've got the chambered tomb at Coyness, and some of them have never been investigated. But with most of these mounds came the stories of the hogboon. I like to think that it's been here for thousands of years. I like to think that the hogboon lives here still, and maybe his little entrance is still there, but only he knows where it is to creep into at night. Look, the stone goes right underneath. I mean, I know that's a rabbit hole, but the stone is like packed on top of each other, coming down. And if you think of Coyness chamber, it's exactly the same, with the stone coming all the way down. So, I mean, on one of the maps it's recorded as the Holy Mound, and that's a really early map. So there's obviously some belief was going on here. You know, why would you call a sheep pen a holy mound? It doesn't really make sense. But maybe we'll never know. The house was disappearing of all its possessions. There was no food for them to eat. Even the cattle were starting to starve. And in the end, they decided they just couldn't stand it anymore living at Helihow. So they decided that what very little possessions they had left, they'd pack up into their cart and quietly, under cover of darkness, they would do a moonlit flit. This track used to run all the way round and right to my house on the other side, which is why I think that's where they moved to. So in early morning, they finally arrived at their new destination, at a place where they could start anew with a new farm away from the hogboon. But as they started unpacking, taking out the little bits that they had left, they picked up the milk cairn. And it seemed surprisingly heavy. It certainly hadn't had milk in it when they left the farm, because the hogboon had taken the milk. It began to rattle. The farmer looked at his wife. The wife looked at the farmer. And suddenly, the top of the milk cairn just sprang off and out popped the hogboon. "It's a fine day for flitting, good lad." And the farmer's wife, she fainted. Okay, so the hogboon leaps from the milk cairn, and there he is, larger than life, surprising the farmer and his wife. Everybody has a different idea of what a hogboon is, but this is my interpretation of what a hogboon looks like. He has the great big lugs that he's often depicted as having, but he's got kinder eyes, more smiley eyes than I think very often we consider when we think of a hogboon. And he's got that mischievous smile that's so important. Big hands, big feet, and through a lot of the research, they were traditionally always dressed in grey. So it was wonderful finding the old grey flannel at Bolokoi, which is now part of the fabrics that I use when I'm creating the hogboons, so that he is dressed in grey as he should be. That day, the farmer and his wife, they learned a lesson. You can't run away from your hogboon. Your hogboon will always follow you. For the rest of the days, the couple treated the hogboon with kindness, and the hogboon ensured that their new farm prospered. And that's why, to this day, Sandy folk leave a little drop of milk or food in a saucer outside, just to make sure they keep their hogboon happy. And I guess, for me, I now live at the house closest to the hogboon's mound that Helihow is now abandoned. So I always make sure I leave a little saucer of milk out for my hogboon.
Hi, I'm Jackie.
Hi, I'm Dave. Thanks so much for watching the video. We're hopefully putting something out for content every 3 weeks, so don't forget to subscribe and you'll get the notifications.
And if you'd like, you can come and stay with us for a week and really immerse yourself in Victorian life, or you can even come and visit us for a tour and an afternoon tea. See you soon.
Bye bye.